Hello, everyone. We're back with another week of exciting panels, and we're starting off pretty strong. We have not actually done our normal format where I've invited just anyone to join us. Today, I wanted a very cultivated audience with me, and I wanted to pick people who are very good at this. It's comic book marketing with a strong social media presence. The emphasis is on social media today. And I wanted to talk about what I think, and I believe both of these gentlemen agree with me, how there are a lot of missteps taken when people go out to try to advertise or even be on social media and try to make themselves a presence on social media. So we're going to be talking about that today. But of course, as always, we're going to start with intros. We're going to start with Brian K. Morris. Can you tell us who you are and your social media presence?
Yes, I can, Rob. Thank you for asking. I'm Brian K. Morris of Rising Tide Publications, risingtide.pub, also on Amazon and Smashwords. My platforms, aside from Facebook and Twitter and such, is Nevermind the Furthermore. Every day right now, while the crisis is going on, at 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Central, it's a talk show. You come in, you type out what you want to say to me, I read it, and then we have a conversation. Then Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. 7 Central, I have another Facebook Live show called Clever Title Pending. That is the title. Don't send me your suggestions. I've heard them all. Thank you anyway. But anyway, we talk about creativity and the business behind it. So that's pretty much where I'm at.
Hello, everybody. I'm GW Pomichter. I am the host and director of the Hangin' With Web Show. We are on Facebook over at Hangin' With Web Show. We are on Instagram, Twitter, all of the social media places, and we are primarily a YouTube-based internet talk show series. We talk to artists, authors, filmmakers, musicians, comic creators, pretty much creative minds of all kinds, to try to share insights about their process and their location, where you can find them, where you can buy them, and what they've gone through on their artistic journey. That's what we do.
And what do you have coming up this weekend?
Oh, he knew it. He knew to ask me that too. We are also the producers and co-sponsors of the CyberCon internet convention that is happening this weekend from Friday, April 17th through Sunday, April 19th. The entire event centers itself around a 56-hour live feed, live stream broadcast on Facebook Live that will come from CyberCon Facebook page. That's at HWWS CyberCon. And we will be, in addition to the live feed, which will feature entertainment musicians, we'll have comic creators, we have celebrity panels, we have performance groups such as Phantasmagoria, who will be doing late night shows in all kinds of fire twirling, you name it, it's there. It's kind of a telethon style. One of our team members called it a comic-thon rather than a Comic-Con. So we are running that for 56 hours. And in addition to that, the CyberCon Facebook page will also feature a number of what we call our Ballroom B panels. So there'll be Facebook page panels. Each one will last between an hour and 2 hours, and they'll feature comic creators again, and movie makers, and podcasters, and you name it. What it is really is a chance for us to all get together and do something special, since we're all locked in separate places. So as they say in the news, hashtag alone together. So that's what we're all about. And in addition to that, just like every other Comic-Con you've ever gone to, you like to come home with your stuff. You want your books, you want your pops, you want your cosplay props and your items. So we are setting up a virtual vendors floor right on the Facebook page. Our vendors will be doing live auctions and getting ready to take your orders and mail stuff out to you. So you can leave CyberCon with a bag of goodies, just like you would if you went to a large convention. So we're hoping it'll be successful with the help of so many out there right now. We have already, well exceeded our expectations. So, but thank you, Rob, for asking, because CyberCon.
You're welcome. And we're gonna start off talking about the time and energy equation behind the things we do. I think very often people, when they first try to do something, don't take into account the time it's going to take and the energy they're putting into something. And a lot of time it's mimicry versus actually doing something appropriately and professionally. I see a lot of people trying to do interview shows, and they wind up spending most of the time talking about their own stuff versus the guest stuff. Can you guys just talk about, especially with you, Brian, you're dedicating a lot more energy right now into being on air every day to you have a big audience, and they're definitely been worried. I've been on many of the shows. How has that been transferring from a three shows a week to a 7-day week show? And do you think the energy and the time you're putting into it is working for you? And do you think it's a drawback for anyone to try to mimic what you're doing right now?
That's an excellent question. As far as my personal energy, yeah, I have to be more mindful of it now. This is resulting in a little bit healthier lifestyle for me right now, especially with all that's going on. There are so many things that are pulling at us every day. Just looking at the news, it's just one more brick in the wall, as they say. But as for myself, while I'm on the air, I'm okay because I get that adrenaline going because I don't know what anyone's going to say, and I'm in a state of virtual terror from the minute I get on, and I don't know what I'm going to say, which is even scarier. So, and the thing is also my shows have been expanding to where they used to be like an hour, but now they're expanding because of the involvement of the people that watch into like 90, 120, sometimes longer, every day. Plus I do guest shots like this whenever Rob needs me. Plus this weekend, I was at the Geek Insider TV thing, and it is a drain. And so, for a while I'm going to like kind of pull back a little just for my own energy levels and sanity and such as that is. Now, as for imitating my show, I have my share of imitators. I can't believe that. I even had one person who wanted to get their show off the ground saying, Brian, could I wear a fez like you do? It's like, you're kind of missing the point of what the show is about. It's not what you're wearing. It's, what you're doing and how you're engaging your audience. And I think that is the key to it, because I'm constantly telling people that Never Mind the Furthermore and Clever Title Pending are not about me. They're about whoever is making the comment. And Rob will verify that I am, I also use the show for promotion of small businesses and creative people. And Rob has to come in, and I'll point to this side. Rob has to come in and save me because I am the worst promoter of my own stuff when I'm on the air, because I don't feel I'm on there just for me. Otherwise, it would be like Rob said, hi, I'm Brian. I'm amazing. Here's how awesome I am. Line up and, kiss my inseam one at a time or all at once. I don't care. But it's not what this show should be about. It should be what we do should be about, like what GW is doing. It's about engagement, about giving something to your audience. And Rob does the very same thing generously. It's not about him per se. It is about the people who watch us and know that they have a harbor that they can come into where they can voice their opinions, they can sound off, they can take a pot shot at me. I've got good armor. And just generally some place to go where for 2 hours or so a day they can forget about what's going on and talk to people of like minds.
And what do you think, Garrett? I know that you had said that you were kind of disappointed that this has cost you your ability to live up to a promise. You talked about putting content out daily. So I know that you're dealing with not having the usual avenue stream of guests that you normally have because you rely on going to different events to build this program. How has the transition been, and what do you think of what you're seeing? Because you ran, I think you said somewhere in the neighborhood of 200 shows already. Am I about
800?
800 shows already. So a lot of different things. You're up there around, I think, Brian K. Morris level of shows there, because Brian's been doing that show 3 years now, right?
I'm in my 4th year now.
Fourth year, 2 shows.
I'm going to get it right one day too.
I'm hoping. I watch every week, and I hope, and I'm pulling for you. I'm pulling for you.
Thank you, Rob. Thank you.
So you've done this a lot, and you just learn. You learn naturally how to keep the conversations going. There's no dead air. You just know how to run things. And now we're seeing this whole new group of creators who are watching right now. What are the biggest mistakes you're seeing these new creators who are trying to do interviews do?
They read too much. They read too many Google articles. That's it, because here's the thing. creativity is about the creator. It's about what you want to share, what you have to offer, what you're giving back. I'm an author, and I could do a show, I guess, on writing, and I could do a show on my books. That would be okay. Once I know Brian's in the same boat. Once you write it, once it's on the page, that's right. Man, you're done with it. I'm done with that story. I want to move on. I don't want to sit and spend the next 3 years of my life talking about that story and how this character might have done this better. So I had to look at what I wanted to do.
Man, you're done with it. I'm done with that story.
Sorry, that's me.
Oh, that's okay. So what I never wanted to be was an internet personality. I went to school for journalism. I graduated. I went into public relations. I then went to work for a newspaper as soon as there was a reporter slot open. I'm a journalist. And so I looked at that. That's my skill set. That's what I'm good at. And I said, well, hey, you know, there's a need out there within the small press, independent creators community. There's a need out there for coverage. So I think I can do that. So that's where my show came from. When you decide one day, though, that, hey, I want to be an internet star, I want to be a Facebook star or YouTube star, and you go online and you Google a bunch of things, and you're going to find a top 10 list, find out what's trending, find out what's hot now. You know, these are all things that are designed to take a person who doesn't know what they're passionate about and give them something to aim for with their content. I don't know very many creators, and particularly broadcast creators like Brian or myself, who are successful when they just pick the trend, because that trend lasts about 46 hours. The internet is very, very fluid. So there are some longer lasting ones, but the reality is we can't make a living that way. So yeah, look up how-tos, pay attention. Brian does a lot of how-to stuff. I try to do some how-to stuff. You know, I know Rob does some how-to stuff. Find those things. Yeah, we're going to give you tips and tricks, but what I'm not going to tell you is how to find your subject, because your subject is what you're passionate about. Your subject is what you can talk intelligently about, what you can have a conversation about, because so many of my interviews are conversations. They're me talking to my guest, and it's as Rob said before, people love to eavesdrop on a conversation. So we just talk and ignore that camera. And if I can't have an intelligent conversation with my guest because I'm just, you know, winging it, I can't keep up, and I'm not a contributor to that conversation. And my audience will know it right away. I put 2 or 3 guests in the chair that I can't have a good conversation with, I'm gone, because the audience will know he knows nothing about that. You know, if I have a guest on talking about a show or a franchise or a type of writing that I don't know about, I got nothing. And so it's, don't worry so much about go into the how-tos once you have an idea. And like Brian said, it's not about copying my show or saying, hey, you got a cool cartoon, can I get one of those? Well, sure, if that's what floats your boat, of course you can. But that was my thing. That's not necessarily going to be your thing. Brian's got his fez, and everybody's like, hey, can I have a fez? No, you don't. You don't want a fez. First of all, Brian's got a fez. He beat you to it. He is the fez man now. That's it. So, you know, find what you're passionate about, and you know, yeah, do the Google search later on with the how-tos, how to edit properly, how to have a conversation and stay on the air properly, how to not have dead air, but don't do how to find a topic, because that's a recipe for failure for 90% of those that try it. Now, there is a 10%, I will admit, that they get biased, and they get biased very well and very quickly. But the 90% fail, and I don't like to see that happen to any of our independent creators, even the guys that are coming up out of nowhere during this thing. I want them to succeed. I really, truly do, because I want them to do it right.
Now, let me ask you guys a question. This, I'm not sure about you, Garrett, but I know with me and Brian being on different shows and even sometimes being guests, would you say, I know, speaking just for myself, I kind of have different personalities per the show I'm on. Right now, you're seeing the more professional, polished me as I moderate this panel. When we do a creators roundtable, it's always a lot more tongue-in-cheek. And when I go on Indie Vault, I kind of come in as like the heel wrestler, because I've kind of been called, it's like a tongue-in-cheek show. So you kind of have a little more fun. Like when you watch your celebrities go to Bill Maher or they go to Last Week Tonight, you kind of expect them to take the jacket off and relax a bit and loosen the tie and be a little bit more smartass. Do you guys find yourself being different when you're guests versus when you're on your own shows and or on your different shows itself? Like for you, Brian, Never Mind the Furthermore and Clever Title Pending does kind of have a different gear to it, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Because it doesn't always happen due to the people watching and the conversation that ensues. But Clever Title Pending, I want to be more educational, more focused on creation. Whereas Nevermind the Furthermore is more of a general talk show. Although we have a little bit of fun on there with creation as well. But as far as my personality, this is pretty much me, but in certain ways it's more so. I kind of joke in that, like, if I'm doing a shot like this, I don't swear as much as I do in real life, because we could bring the feds in here at any moment. I could send sailors out of here crying with my swearing, but I try to control it. And there's also the part of me that because I'm learning new systems like StreamYard and OBS and all that other sorcery, that I feel like a first-year student at Hogwarts. I'm trying to keep all the balls in the air, try to keep everything going. And sometimes it works better than it doesn't. So yeah, but otherwise, I guess because I need to have that control, that I need to be the guy that is nominally in control of the show. That personality tends to come to the fore, as opposed to the guy who at 9 o'clock, an hour before my show this morning, was experimenting with OBS and was about to give up broadcasting, give up social media, give up everything. I try not to let that guy show, because if otherwise, why would I be doing a show every day or more if I'm not here to be entertaining? People don't want to hear me swear. People don't want to hear me bellyache. I think I know where my niche is, and that guy isn't it.
What do you think, Garrett?
Yeah, I want to I camp onto what Brian said. This is me most of the time. This is who I am. I suppose different aspects of my personality are more prominent during different times. I'm as a manager. I don't have a management degree. I manage my team as best I can, but kind of like Brian noted, I manage my team as an Army NCO. So there are mornings when the set doesn't go up right, or the camera's not right, or things aren't right, when my team runs away from me crying and screaming, "Please never let me have to see that man again." And so because I don't know any other way to manage. That is my management style. So but when I'm in the chair and I'm having a conversation with someone, really the part of me that comes out is the fanboy. It's the ooh, ah, wow, because I really am impressed with what everybody's doing. Whether it's your first book and you're out there marketing it, I think that's amazing. I remember vaguely what those days were like. They were a blur going by because it was that struggle to succeed. So when I hear somebody else's journey, I really am, wow, that is cool. And then when I'm doing a show like this, I think I'm an intellectual. I am an intellectual snob. I have a passion for topics, just like Brian said. He's studying OBS. I study my StreamYard, OBS, and we use one called Be Live that we use. I'm always learning about the camera and about the audio equipment and mics. So when I get a chance to sit down like this, I have to put my academic cap on and say, hey, what do I know? What can I talk intelligently about? When you and I, Rob, were talking about, what show would I like to come on? What show would I like to talk about? I sent you back a thing. I can talk about marketing on social media. I know about that. I can talk about podcasting and broadcasting. I can talk about, writing and creativity. But then you have another panel later on in the week that's literally about comics. And I'm like, well, I don't do comics. I can come and sit in the chair very quietly, but I can't talk intelligently about that if I try, other than to be my normal interview self, which is, ooh, ah, wow. I'm not a contributor in that way. So pieces of my personality, I suppose, come out because, my entire personality doesn't fit on the camera. My ego itself is bigger than me. So I have to put that in the room when I go on the air. So
Well, I think that's an important comment too, and not about your ego. I think that you have to have a little bit of a healthy ego to put yourself in front of strangers. That's just normal. You have to have that outgoingness, and I think a lot of people struggle with that, especially when they first start doing this. But picking the right people for the shows, I sometimes I do an open mic, and I regret it instantly when the wrong person comes on my show. And you don't want to be a mean person kicking anyone off your show, but you certainly feel that pressure. And sometimes I've had to even step in and be like, okay, that's not what we're talking about today. And I actually get feedback all the time. Like, people love when I cut someone off. I don't know why, but people will be like, oh, you cut them off. And it becomes a thing.
Yeah, Rob, I'm in the room. Come on, Rob. Please.
No, but it's serious. People kind of like a back and forth. They like it when I have guests on that I kind of go back and forth with. We were talking about this beforehand. If I decide to call someone out, my viewer rate triples instantly, that I've actually had that conflict with someone. But that leads us to our next thing, understanding actually giving proper content and actually engaging your audience versus actually arguing with your audience and just getting a lot of viewers that are going to turn on you and begin to hate you. And that's not really something we want to cultivate now, is it? Because when you start to get people to hate you, you're no longer going to be, and I hate to say it this way, but you do have to be liked a little bit. Even if you're just liked for your personality of what you're doing on your show, someone has to like you and invest in you to show back up. If they don't like what you're saying, they'll just turn you off and not listen anymore. Even the people that hated Howard Stern loved the fact that he was challenging things and they could comment on it. Whether they'd admit it or not, it's the truth. We have to inspire a conversation without aggravating someone to the point where they won't listen to us. So what do you guys think about what you're seeing content-wise? So I want you to judge it, and this is why I brought you guys on, because you do it so often. What are you seeing that creators are making the missteps on their social media presence itself that you think people shouldn't do? I know the usual ones are don't talk about religion and don't talk about politics, but we've lost politics in the last couple of years, and it seems we're losing religion right now with all the social gatherings. So what are your cardinal rules for the new people watching? What shouldn't they talk about right now on social media?
That's kind of a trick question, because I find, and again, my experience is limited to the content that I watch or that I can be drawn to. So that being said, I find that most of the content that's out there isn't horrible. I would tell some of our fellow hosts, polish up a little bit, get a little bit better, presence, that kind of thing. I could give tips like that all day. The content's not horrible. Here's what's horrible: chasing the viewer, trying to chase the viewer. I am an old school journalist, and I know Brian will back me up on this. Yellow journalism, guys, I wish it would die. Because as an old school journalist, the last thing I want is the modern clickbait headline, that yellow journalism headline. Because I know you're getting the clicks, and I know you're getting the views because they stay for more than 15 seconds or whatever the algorithm requires. But the view doesn't count because they turned away as soon as you got real. Your content might not be bad, but it's not what's in your headline. And that is going to make a difference over time. We played with that when I first started. I will be the first one to tell you, yeah, we played with, sexy headlines. But I started getting comments. I said, hey, it was a great interview, but where is this part of it? Oh, well, that was, that was at 10 seconds that I was able to peel out. And so my thing is I don't mind so much of the content. And again, those battles that you just mentioned, we don't talk about a lot of religion. We don't talk about a lot of politics. We lost those battles years ago. They're doing it now. I don't mind the content. I don't watch most of it, but I don't mind the content so much as long as they have an intelligent conversation about those things, which most people have difficulty doing. But it doesn't have to be. If you're going to talk about the politics of the day, your headline doesn't have to be, Dems suck or Trump sucks or whatever. That's just to get clicks. And it'll work for a short period of time, but it won't work overall. And I wouldn't advise you to do it indefinitely, because it'll kill your presence pretty quickly, I think.
Now, Brian, I do want to point out, you do lose control of your show sometimes by what people say.
Yep.
And they steer it into awkward places. And I do notice that recently you've begun to actually read the comments, and you'll still do the riskier jokes, but I've seen you skip some comments. And we've talked about comments you shouldn't be talking about. And I've seen some people put it in. during the show. How careful do you have to be? Because you're a live show that reads random comments from people who are just stacking it up. And a lot of times you're just trying to get through all those comments. How careful you have to be, and how's the backlash been to that?
Actually, Rob, my backlash has been minimal. I get more backlash from Facebook not always showing me posted contents, and I get some people that are so used to me keeping up on the comments. They're going, well, hey, you didn't read, and this happened just this morning with one of my dear friends. And he's like, you didn't read my comment. You didn't read my comment. And I'm like, I didn't see your comment. I didn't see your comment. This is Facebook. It's worth everything we're paying for it. Okay. But as far as reading it, I let everyone pretty much have their say. But sometimes people emerge from the pack that you realize you better scan about 4 or 5 words ahead of what your mouth is saying. Because we had someone very early on, not around anymore, who would post things that were frankly quite annoying. And I got complaints about that person, but it was never bad enough that I could justify blocking them out of there. And so after a time, I just said, I'm just not going to read it. I see where this is going, and I'm not going to read it. And I just let them know right then and there. And if people want that controversy, that's fine. And some broadcasters think that the controversy should replace actual content, which I'm totally against. Nobody wants to see that kind of train wreck.
I want to add just real quick to what Brian just said, because it's so important. The way you handle, Brian, when you see controversy forming in the thread. And this is something I tell a lot of my broadcasters at HWWS Web TV. I try to fill them in. Yes, as Rob said, part of our job is to inspire and foster dialogue, conversation, even debate. However, as the broadcaster, we need to understand our responsibility is to inspire and foster that debate, not to participate in it.
Right.
Once we participate in it, once we take a side and make a stand on any given set of issues, we're no longer in a position to foster the next debate, because we've already told you this is where we stand, and you're not going to change my mind. So our job is to foster that debate, not participate in it. And like Brian said, Brian, you see that going, and you see those heads about to knock together, and that's when you're like, hey, that's it. I did my job. I did my job. I'm out of there. And we can go ahead. If 1 second, guys, I apologize. Can we go ahead and turn that off on your computer over there? That'd be awesome. Good. Awesome. Great. You want to see the chat? You can come over here and hit live comments. That's where you would go. All right. Thanks, guys.
No problem. I understand. Sometimes you have to do those things in mid course, and that, and you mentioned earlier something about people that are doing the social media thing for the wrong reason. GW, you mentioned that earlier. And one of the first things I learned is if you're doing this to be famous, or you're doing this for immense money, you're doing it for the wrong reason. Now, the thing is, all three of us, we have a niche. We're not chasing the trend. We are the trend, if anything. And we are facilitating more than shining the spotlight on ourselves. At least I try to. But, a lot of people think, well, I'll just get on there and I'll just drop a bunch of F-bombs, and I'll give some unpopular opinions, and I'll do this, then the other. Wait a minute, I've been on the air twice and nobody's watching me. What is wrong here?
Yeah, especially in that first time I was on the air, 1,000 people were watching me because I was dropping all my F-bombs and I was doing all that. But the thing is your shtick got old fast. Because people can tell that it wasn't genuine. They could tell what you were doing. And they just said, you know what? I don't want to bother with him anymore. Again, just like we said, don't chase a trend. Set a trend. And, maybe you'll get lucky and you'll set a trend. We're still trying. But we're still working it. So
we are backed up on some comments. So if you guys don't mind, I want to kind of do like a lightning round to get through some of these comments so we can get back to the few topics that I did want to tackle. So Pyramid Knight said that is Facebook's one of the best social media marketing tools. I would say that it's a necessary marketing tool. If you're not on Facebook, you're not part of the conversation. I think, unless you guys disagree with me, I think that's just the answer.
No, it is. That is the truth is that Facebook is the number one social media network on the planet Earth with over 1 billion active users. You need it. And is it effective? It can be, but I think the point that I would add to Rob's point is that when you go at social media marketing through Facebook or any other platform, remember that you're marketing in competition with Coca-Cola. So how much marketing they let you make effective is going to be determined by how much you spend, just like any other marketing media. There's ways to do it smart, but you will have to get in the trenches just like everybody else.
Right, and I would also add to that you can do a lot for free if you're willing to trade money for hard work. And getting your message out on Facebook is hard work. I had one of my books, I moved it from like number 5,000 in my main category to number 34. It took me 14 hours to do it. So if you're not willing to put in the effort to promote what you do, even to promote your own social media, then you're going to have to spend money on it.
Ted Davies says, keep your cool in front of the camera. You can always vent in Messenger with your tribe later. That's just being professional. I don't think you should have a meltdown on the camera. We've been talking very honestly since this whole epidemic has been going on. A lot of us creators come on. I come on nightly. Brian's been on daily. We've told you, we shared our fears and all that, but I certainly think, and you guys can quickly agree or disagree with this, I don't think any of us are being 100% honest about all of our fears online because we don't want to make anyone else afraid like we are. We only talk about our manageable and reasonable things with our audience, and the other stuff we do go to our messenger and talk to our tribe about. It's just that simple. Same thing with your family. That's why you have family and friends. Your messenger is supposed to be your thought bubble, and your speech bubble is supposed to be Facebook and the feed that's there.
I say I'd agree completely. Although what you should see on the air with me every morning is pretty much how I feel about the current pandemic, except that I don't go political because that could get really volcanic.
Yeah, I completely agree with both of you in that. Just like Brian said, what you see is what you get with me. If I'm nervous or jilted or whatever, I'll discuss it. I do try to keep my cool, and again, I think that goes down to whether you're new at this or you've been doing it a while. I have 19,000 people that are listening to what I have to say. I have an obligation to say it in an intelligent, calm way, because I wish I did, but I don't know that 19,000 people. They're not going to come to my house. They don't have Thanksgiving dinner with me. I don't know who they are or where they are in their lives. And my obligation is to not do anything to set them off in a panic-stricken thing. So I have my concerns. I voice them intelligently. I have my opinions. I voice them as intelligently as I'm able, and then I move on because I have an obligation to that audience, not to be terrified, because that wouldn't work for them.
Exactly.
Now, Pyramid Knights ask for indie comics, and more than likely he's referring to the fact is Facebook one of the best social media marketing tools, and you're asking if it is for indie comics. Basically, there is no other platform that's going to be as supportive to indie comics. You could talk about Twitter, but you have to use hashtags, and there are certain hashtags that you have to be part of a cool kids group. And if you're not part of that group, they'll attack you for using that hashtag. And I won't divulge the hashtag because that's a whole other political conversation we're not having today. But that's the problem with Twitter. Plus, you got to remember this, and I'm going to say this to everyone who's watching. It's knowing your fan base and knowing how big your fan base is and understanding what your fan base is there for. And we'll talk about that more because I see a question coming up. But is it good for indie comics if you have no following? No, nothing's good for that. So you have to first go out there and get a following. We're not talking about it on this show because it's very basic. But if you want to gain a following, you have to go out and be interactive with a community, a group, and a bunch of people. And I'm sure both of you guys have done that, right? You didn't just start a show. You engaged with people beforehand.
Yeah, no, I think one of the most important things about social media is that it be used appropriately as a complement to any other marketing that you're doing. Maybe it's a product of my age. I don't know. But I'm a big fan of shoe leather marketing. I'm out there. I'm pushing. There's a little QR code down here for the technologically savvy. They can find the Facebook page, but the addresses are there so that they can type them in if they need to. The reality is I hand more of these out than I will ever be able to invite people on Facebook. My friends list is maxed out, and I contact them and I get a 2% return, whatever that is. When you engage people. So yeah, this is about, we show up at an event or a convention, or hell, these are hanging at the laundromats around town. I don't care if you're sitting there on your phone, watch my show. So it's shoe leather marketing, and social media is vital and important, but as a complement to your existing marketing. Don't think that you're going to do it all on social media. Those days have come. They were great. Now they have gone. So it's time to get back with the program. You have to be a little bit more savvy.
Brian, did you have anything to add to that?
Not a whole lot. That was very well said. I will add, though, that the more you put into your social media, the more you will get out of it. And you have to be patient and work smart.
So Carl Whitman says to us, so it's not uncommon to have different persona on social media. Few. I don't know if it's different personas. It's like the wrestler. Whenever you talk to wrestlers, they will tell you when they're a good guy, they just tap into that good side of themselves. And when they're a bad guy, the heel, they just turn up the volume of when they're angry. I think you're seeing us in phases of what we're doing. And we all have those different gears. We're all different at work, as opposed to being out with our friends who we've known since childhood versus being with our significant other. There are different rules that many of us abide by. I happen to be one of those people that people see very different things. I'm that guy that you either love or you love to hate. There's no middle ground with me. And I understand that about my persona, and I understand that about who I am, and I don't run from it. So there's a little bit of understanding who you are that goes with that. I know I can be a potty mouth when I want to be, but I know I'm not shocking anyone when I say something intelligent. And that's who I am. And you have to know who you are. If you're an intelligent person and you come out of the gate cursing your head off, people are going to be like, whoa, whoa, whoa. That's not who you are. It would be like if I suddenly started posting pictures of me outside in a gardening setting wearing like really tight short shorts. Everyone would be like, Rob, what the hell's wrong with you? They wouldn't expect that from me. And it'd have to be a joke. Rob must be having a sense of humor. He must be doing this for a gag. You have to know how people perceive, and you also have to know how you're coming across. And as both of you already said, because we did talk about this, none of us are faking who we are. It's just, like I said, when I go on to the Indie Vault show, I'm turning my heel persona up, but a lot of what I'm saying is still true. I'm just ribbing people by how I'm saying it. It's being tongue-in-cheek. It's letting my sarcasm really out at that moment. But I don't say anything I'm not genuine about unless I'm teasing someone, and I'm just trying to be funny, and people write in and tell me I'm not funny all the time. So there is that. What do you guys think? Anything to add? Because I know we did talk about this a lot a few minutes ago.
Yeah, I think you hit it pretty good. And for both Brian and I addressed it, up front. The one thing I would say to Carl or anyone else, if you are building a social media presence for, let's say, your pen name or your identity, the pieces of your genuine personality that speak to that quality in you should be the ones that you're using. I like in building my author page on Facebook, for me was an exercise in character building. I was building a character. The character was that part of me that sits at the keyboard and writes, the part of me that loves to not be on camera, to just bang away at the keys and create a story for you. And that part of me, I built this character that is my author persona. It's not false. It's just personality traits that I find I fight when I'm on camera. Whereas, the author can go over there and sit there and just bang out 20,000 words without speaking to my family for days on end. Very happily so, by the way. And that's the author page. The Hanging with Web Show page is more about this me, the more extroverted version where I get to talk to you. So build a character, but build it that's faithful to someone that you know inside of yourself.
Mm-hmm. And I know Carl Witzman, and I've seen he has a live show every other Friday on a secret page of humor that he does. And Carl, you know yourself that what you see is you, but not you. That we see the lovable guy who's naturally funny, and we don't see the guy that's going, when is Brian going to learn, pick up the lessons I've been giving him on OBS? That's the Carl we don't see, and it's probably a good thing too. So.
Now, I'm not sure who wrote this in because, again, and there's a link, guys, for you to actually have your name show up. You do have to do some sort of sign up for StreamYard for your names directly to be signed up or shown here. Mm-hmm. So I apologize for not knowing who said this. I'm trying to look at all the chats.
It's not easy, is it, Rob? It's not easy. I'm telling you.
I've told you I would never do your show. When I did do your show, I didn't like it. I don't like the format at all. It's horrible. Oh no, Terry McVlore. So I have literally two things open because we're open in two different areas. So that's why you see my eyes wandering so much. Right. He said, I tried to set up a street team to help promote content creators. Trying to get everyone on the same page is frustrating as hell. But I will say, and then I'm going to pass it off to you, gentlemen. You're not supposed to try to get anyone on your page. You put your stuff out there, and whoever comes to show up shows up. And don't spend all your time trying to convert people. Don't be what were the people who went around the world converting people? What's their name? Yes. Don't be that. Be a person who builds your hut, shows off what you do, and then let people come to you. Because the other side, it's going to annoy people. Don't go door to door. Don't hand out flyers. Show up at Comic-Cons, get yourself a fan table or get a table and do the right thing and follow the proper steps, and you'll get more respect. When you act like the guy in the corner of the street trying to pass out flyers, I'll tell you from experience, because I used to hand out business cards for Indie Advocates, we didn't get that many hits. We got more hits when we did something engaging at a show, and we won fans over. So what do you guys think? I know you put up flyers at a laundromat, and that makes sense. But would you have anyone just randomly being outside on a street handing out flyers?
No, and to Terry's point, I think he's talking about getting his workers and his team members, those street team members, on the same page in terms of doing things. And he's right. That can be very frustrating and very difficult because people join a group or they like a page or an author or a comic creator for all different reasons. Some people like the art. Some people like the story. Some people like to see the show when you're live on Facebook. People come along for different reasons. So it's really hard to get them on the same page. But I think leading any team is about getting to know that team. So if you have a street team going for different content creators, and I know Terry's got a lot going for our show and for a lot of the shows that he sees on the internet. The biggest thing about leading that team is finding out why they're there, why each one is there, what they're interested in doing. We're famous for asking our team members, what do you want to do? Do you want to go hand out flyers, or do you want to do social media posts, or do you want to, maybe you want to just go and join the chat on YouTube when we go live every day, and then you could just moderate that. That way I don't have to do it. Ask your team members what they really are there for. Some of them are just there to enjoy sort of the inside dope. And you can't get them to do very much because that's not why they're there. They're not there to do, they're there to watch. So get to know your team members as best you can. Do it in private messages, do it on the Facebook chat, do it wherever you can, but get to know your team members, find out why they're there, and give them things to do that they want to do. And they'll be good at it because they want to be good at it. They want to do it. So give them a chance. The hardest part about being a leader is letting your hands off the wheel and letting your team function. And I'm very fortunate. My team works extremely well, probably better when I'm not in the room than they do when I am in the room.
And I'll amplify on that I've had a couple of street teams, and basically I go into it saying, okay, here is what I expect of you. And here is what, if you aren't doing it for the same why I am, then maybe you're not cut out to be part of this group. I would rather have a small group rowing in the same direction than a huge group with about 20 different purposes overall. Some people will join a street team basically to latch on to what you are doing, to kind of like, if he gets his audience built up to, say, 20,000 people for his show, well, then I'll let them all know I've got a show, and then I'll have 20,000 people along with my 4. Now, it doesn't really work that way. And in fact, I advocate through the Rising Tide philosophy that you need to be more of a servant than you do, the recipient of the whole thing. That yes, there needs to be somebody who's got their hand on the rudder, but things tend to work better if you work a little bit selflessly. And if you go into a street team with ideas on how you're going to subvert the purpose of it to benefit your pocketbook, it ain't going to happen.
Again, I apologize. We only have Facebook user for this one. I'm guessing if you're a shock jock, it works well for people. Actually, statistically, it does not. There were very few shock jocks who ever made it to be popular. A lot of people tried it. There are a lot of, again, monkey see, monkey do. I'm going to be popular. It's why we see so many zombie comic books all at once at different times, because people follow trends. Don't be a trendsetter. Be yourself. Because if you just try to be funny in a shock jock, you're going to fail. The ones who made it just happen to be that kind of asshole. And they could turn that gear all the way up. Same as being a wrestling heel. Again, it goes back to that. Is it in you? Can you be that persona? And if you can and it comes off fake, people are going to know you're just being nasty to get noticed. And that's really ugly. You could say, well, Howard Stern is saying this stuff, but he knew how to rub. Ben Shapiro knows how to rub you. The CNN anchors know how to put in those jabs to get Republicans upset. That it is a skill, whether you like it or not. They know what they're doing. So don't try to be a shock jock, and don't think that that's going to work well, because especially nowadays, this is not the era of shock jocks anymore whatsoever. As a matter of fact, it's like being Andrew Dice Clay right now. You ain't going to get booked anywhere except maybe on Showtime late at night, and that's it. And God bless him, he's still around doing comedy with his small group, but he's not someone we talk about anymore.
Yeah, and I think a useful thing to know is also, for every Howard Stern or Don Imus that we ever had, they did it first, and all you're doing is imitating. The thing to do is be an originator and not a replicator. When people like Stern and all of Rush Limbaugh and all, they were pretty much the pioneers in what they did. And if you say, well, I'm going to do this just like somebody, then rethink it, because if you can't put your own original spin on it, then you've lost the game before you even threw the first die. Look at music, for instance. People like Elvis Presley had a bunch of different influences on him, but he combined them in a unique way. Same with Superman, many different influences: Hugo Danner, Doc Savage, Scarlet Pimpernel, etc. But it was combined in a unique way. You need to find your unique voice, and then try to move into a certain niche. But I agree with Rob, just being shocking for its own sake. It's been done and done a lot better.
Yeah, I think the point there is that all the names that Brian just mentioned, from Howard Stern to Don Imus to all of those names, those guys pioneered something incredibly special. And one of the things they had going for them is, whether you agree with their observations or you don't agree, they can argue them. They believe them. They're intelligent. They know what you're going to say before you say it. You don't think they do, because they present themselves. Howard always presented himself as that scruffy, rugged, you know what I mean? But he went into the studio, he was highly prepared. He was ready for every argument that everyone was going to throw at him. He knew how to defend every train wreck thing that he said, because he was more than the shock jock. The shock jock was what you saw. The journalist and the content creator, that's what he was. And he was prepared for you. If you came in there and you said, oh, I think you're full of BS because you just said this, he could go toe to toe with you. I truly do not envy anyone who decides that they're going to go on Bill Maher's show one night and debate him. You're going to get your butt handed to you, not because you're not intelligent, but because you're not prepared in the way that he is. He's got a team of people making sure he's prepared that night for whatever silliness he says. And he says things all the time that I don't necessarily agree with, but I've got days and days to absorb that, to prevent, to get my arguments ready. If I'm standing there on the show in front of him, he is going to mop the floor with me. So doing it just to do it, not a good idea. So Johnny Fever, there's a good one from WKRP. That's right. There you go. But yeah, guys, don't imitate, because if you're going to imitate, you're only imitating 1/10, the tip of the iceberg. You're imitating what you see, not what goes into creating what you see. And like I said, I know Howard was meticulous at knowing his facts and figures and being able to argue. Imus, oh my goodness. He had a team around him that was dedicated to making sure that even if he was wrong, he was right. And those guys have something that you don't get to see. And by just going out there and imitating, what you're going to end up imitating is really just you're cloning a veneer, and it's a bad idea.
Again, I apologize, because we have another Facebook user. I don't know who you guys are, because it's not even showing up in my feed at this point. Oh no, wait, this is from Jen Hogan. Okay, so we got a name to go this one. Jen Hogan says, "Do you feel you need to train your audience in a sense?" And I would say no. If you have to train something, it's a cult. Your audience shouldn't have to be trained to do anything. You're gonna cultivate maybe your audience. Maybe you're gonna be someone's feelings for what they like. You know what their likes and dislikes are. But you can't train an audience per se without being kind of a cult leader. And would you guys agree or disagree with that?
My audience doesn't listen to a dang thing I say. It's like herding cats. But I love them just the same. They probably teach me far more than I teach them. But no, I agree that aside from a couple of people where I've told them not to drop F-bombs on my show because I don't want it to become that show, I'm the only person allowed to swear, and we make it a drinking game. So other than that, I'd say myself, no, I don't really have to train my audience because they're far smarter than I am.
Yeah, no, I don't know that I first of all, I don't know that my audience hasn't trained me. I mean, how would I know the difference? So yeah, I mean, the reality is that I think that we bend a little bit. We're flexible when it comes to our audience in terms of what we'll answer, what we'll say, what topic we'll adjust. But I don't know that we necessarily train them. Hopefully, if we're successful in our endeavors, every once in a while, we'll drop a nugget that they'll get a hold of and they'll run with it. I mean, just because we know, Brian hit it right on the head. 90% of what I say, my audience didn't even hear. They were waiting for my guest to talk. They were waiting for the commercial break. They were waiting for their spouse to call them for dinner. But so the best I think you can hope for as a content creator is that some piece of what you're creating will touch someone, that they'll take it away with them every once in a while. And I will drop the odd pearl, and I'll hit my poetry books once in a while, and I'll, so I got no problem with that. But they're not listening to me then. They're listening to Tennyson. That's a big difference. He's been saying this stuff for 1,000 years. I've been doing it for like 10 minutes. So, yeah, I don't think I necessarily train them. I do think they've trained me a little bit.
Now, I will say this, and I know this comes from listening to different podcasts and people talking about the idea of training a person when to show up to your show, training them how to act on your show. That's really not training. That's first off you delivering content and you always doing it at a certain time and people finally showing up at that time. That's more on you. You have to train yourself to be in a position where people know where you're going to be. And the second part of that is how people act. That's just civility. I do that with my debates. When I had a bunch of creators who were constantly fighting each other, I gave them the arena, but then taught them how to talk to each other. And we ejected people who didn't get along. So I wasn't training an audience. Again, I was cultivating it and I was curating it and I was making sure that the bad elements were taken out of the audience. So that way, when people interacted on my page, I didn't get in these annoying, oh, he was mean to me or she said this to me. I don't have time for that in my life. I don't have time to play your daddy. I have a 5-year-old who gets that. No one else gets that.
And that, I think, to speak to that point, because that was actually probably the critical part of that question, was in terms of when to show up and that kind of thing. That's not so much training your audience, although they are learning. They're learning that you're on at 4:00, Rob. They're learning that I'm on every day at 11 o'clock. They're learning when Brian is on. However, it's a symbiotic thing. It's a very symbiotic thing because they're learning to show up to see what they want to see. And you're learning to be there on time, every time, whether they're there or not. Because that's the consistency is something that people, they long for it, they want it. And if you learn to be consistent, then they will learn to show up. And again, they're training me as much as I'm training them. So.
Yeah. I think this is also Jen. Jen said, and that's Jen Hogan said, I think if you look at indie comics or any other form of entertainment is a business, if you look at it as a business, you have to sell. And that's not necessarily true. It sounds like it should be true, but it's not always true. Because sometimes the business you're in isn't about selling, but it is about entertaining, and you get paid for ad revenue. You have to understand when you're talking about that. Specifically, indie comics, of course, the idea is to promote and get people to buy your book, of course. But to say that the business itself is about selling, I don't think I'm here right now doing what I do to sell when I advocate for people. However, that does, in fairness, gives me goodwill towards other people and allows me to do things other people can't do. And I can have conversations with people that others can't have. So I think that you're not always selling, but either you're the product or you're the person who is cultivating something. Because I don't think everything we do is inherently about selling, but also about building. It's the same reason all these big companies right now are doing all these nice things for us. No bandwidth. They're not selling us bandwidth. They're buying our loyalty. And you have to understand that. You have to understand there's a give and take. If you always treat someone as a mark, you're going to be Walmart, and then you're going to see how Walmart changed their perception of who they were for 5 years when that's how they treated people for 15. So I think it's a dangerous thing to say that you always have to sell, because sometimes you're buying into your fan base as much as you're selling to them. What do you want to say, Brian? I saw you put your finger up.
All right. Well, I will agree with you to a certain point towards the end that not everybody is selling a product. But if we are looking to build a social platform, we are selling ourselves. Because if I wasn't selling this, I wouldn't be wearing similar outfits every day. I wouldn't be wearing the fez or have the sideburns, etc., or the bow tie. But we're all selling. I feel we're all selling something to a degree. Whether it is a platform for advocacy in your case, or a virtual convention, or a comic book, or a novel, we're all selling something to one degree or another. And you talk about getting ad revenue. A lot of that goes to the people who have built a cult of personality, if nothing else, and that came through selling themselves. If you look at something like YouTube with like a PewDiePie or a Markiplier, they have sold themselves what entertainment they have to offer. And Rob, in your case, I think they are buying the indie advocate, the indie devil, who has strong opinions, who does work for others. So in a way you have. So that's just my take on it. We're all selling something to one degree or another, but that's not necessarily evil.
Yeah, I think to kind of camp onto that, the idea of a sale it's a transaction. It's not dollars, it's not cents, it's a transaction. And I think human relationships are transactional in many cases. And that's every relationship, guys. Go back in history, go back, to people getting married for dowries, to 6 sheep if you'll take my daughter off my hands. Life is transactional in many ways. And so I think, we are selling ourselves. We're selling something. What is our cost? What is our gain, etc.? I think I know that in my case, because what I do is truly driven from a place of I want the person who sits in that chair to do well. That's my goal in life, is that author, that filmmaker, musician, that person that's in that chair does well. So how do I do that? What's my price? My price is pretty simple, guys. If you out there in Facebook land, YouTube land, internet land, you make me famous, and I promise you that I will use that capital to make them famous. That's my pledge. That's my promise. It's a transaction. I'm asking you to watch me so that I can share this person with you and all of your friends and all of that other guy's friends and that guy's friends and that guy's friends until we make him famous together. And so the idea is there is a transaction in there. I think the key for anyone who's doing this is to know what transaction you are engaged in. If you're engaged in that transaction and you're an indie comic seller, you might be engaged in the wrong transaction because you're not selling any books. If you are a filmmaker and you're engaged in the transaction of, hey, I think I'll sit around and talk about comics all the time with people that I know, you might be engaged in the wrong transaction. Yeah, you're building some goodwill. There are things that you should do to do that, again, for the next phase, but know the transaction that you're involved in and know what your end of it is and deliver your end of it. Don't expect social media to deliver theirs every time. They won't. But you deliver yours consistently, and sooner or later, people will buy what you're selling.
The Pyramid Knight says, so going to cons, a very important, I believe they mean to say is a very important thing. Also, giving away some of your own books might just be as important to get the word out about your indie comics. I disagree with giving out books. I don't think giving out books does what most people thinks it does. Giving it to the right people, of course, giving it to reviewers, giving it to people that you know. But randomly giving out books, we've tried it in the past just because, I had to change branding. So we're redoing the Monsters book. So we gave out some free Monster books. I didn't get as much feedback back from that as opposed to actually going out and selling a book. And when someone buys something, they're invested. No one wants to buy something and ignore it. That's just not what we do in our society. So I would not suggest giving things out for free. Is going to cons important? It depends on your station. I mean, if you're doing 20 books a year, and I mean printing 20 books a year, and you just want to do one local show, that's, what are your goals? That all comes down to goal based. I mean, you can hand out 1,000 books, but you can't guarantee 1,000 people will buy it. But if you do a Kickstarter, everyone who backs that Kickstarter is going to read your book, and then you'll get feedback from it. And that's not an easy thing to go. Because I'm sure all of you guys have handed out free materials. Sometimes it's a necessary thing. Sometimes it's not. What I would suggest is preview books. Always give out free PDF preview books. A part of what you're doing to get them hooked. Like for me, I could give out the first Monster book and tell people it's about, this series, and they'll come back and buy more books from it. But that was like Garrett was saying, that was a deliberate transaction. I knew what I was doing with it. I wasn't just giving a free book. I was saying, hey, here's this, and I've got 2 more books if you like what you see that you can come and buy. And then they came and buy it. That's your only book and you're giving it out. You've just lost. And now you're gambling that that's going to be a good investment later down the road. And that's a dangerous investment. Brian, you're a comic book creator. How important are cons? Do you think that they are super important, and do you give away content? And same thing to Garrett, because I know Garrett, you're always doing something.
I think conventions for an independent creator are important, especially if you want to build a social platform. And also, it's a great way to rehearse your spiel. Because you're going to be, let's say you go to a large show, for instance. Let's call it 12,000 or more people come in through the gate. You've got 12,000 people, and I'll wager that 99.9% of them you may never see again. And so I kept that in mind when I started my in-person appearances. Now, granted, I had some certain experiences that prepped me for it, but I figured I could go ahead and screw up my presentation totally. Because chances are, if they didn't buy it, I may never see them again. So what does it matter? But I've got that practice. And also, if you go by the old adage that, you've got to get through all your no's to get to the yeses. That's also very useful. But doing in-person shows teaches you a lot that you can carry over into other areas, not just salesmanship, but presentation, branding, marketing, etc. And if you do the social thing, if you do Facebook and Twitter and Instagram correctly, you can get them to a show to seek you out, perhaps, in which case then you can give them your message. Any way that you can get your message to them is a good thing.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I take that in kind of 2 parts. I'll go backwards though. Giving out books. I give out books all the time. I know what transaction I'm involved in. I know I give out Lucky, which is the first of my noir series. Then I let you know that I have 2 more. All you got to do is go to Amazon and buy them. I give out, better yet, I have a short story series that is in 1 novella, but each one is its own short story. I give out the short story. Here you go. Have fun with that. Now that sits in the middle of this, trio. So please, by all means, buy the rest. So, know your transaction, know why you're doing it. Marketing is about marketing. Yeah. People have been giving out keychains and stickers and refrigerator magnets and whatever, and also know your audience a little bit too. If you're going to a big convention, I would say you want to give something away. You want to do something like that. That's great. That's awesome. However, know that if you give away, let's say your comic, if you have 1 comic that you say, okay, I've got more of these than any other, I'm going to give these away this weekend. Okay, great idea. You've got the inventory. Go ahead and use it. However, understand people that say a big convention are walking around with this goodie bag, and your comic's going to go into that goodie bag. And I know when we come home, probably 60% of that goodie bag never gets looked at because I don't need any more keychains or refrigerator magnets or bumper stickers. And your comic is now sitting somewhere between those things. So know your audience, know what you're expecting in return. And don't give away things that you can't afford to give away. This is a bad idea. If you just spent X number of dollars on 3 cases of your 3 different books, that's your expense. Ask yourself the question, can I afford to be giving one of those boxes away? Am I going to see the ROI or return on investment, as they say? So if you're not, or that ROI is over a period of time that's too lengthy for you to survive, then the answer is no. So you have to make up your own determinations, but you have to make that determination smart. Yeah. As to attendances, I'm right there with Brian. Yeah, there is no reason not to attend other than you can't. If you simply financially are not in a position to attend, if you are not in a geographic location where you can attend, but if you're there and you are able to go, it doesn't hurt. It can't hurt. If nothing else, you're going to meet new people and you're going to meet your peers. I think one of the biggest things that I get from going to a convention or a conference or a film festival is I'm in a room with this set behind me and I'm meeting all these people, these fantastic, some of which, as Brian pointed out, they'll just see the show and they'll go, oh my gosh, the next time they see me, they won't even see my face. They'll just see the logo and they'll go, oh, I remember them at that last show that we saw. You're the ones that were at that show. But then I'm going to meet my peers. I'm going to meet a group of people who are going to be able to tell me, some of whom have been doing it a lot longer than I have. I've met amazing writers who have given me pointers and tips on my writing techniques, who have given me everything from, hey, you're small press published. How do you find an editor? How do you find a cover designer? How do you find these things? And I'll say, well, this is how I did it. And they'll say, yeah, don't ever do that again. Let me show you how you're supposed to do it. And so I meet my peers, and it's like going to school. So the price of admission isn't for me to go and sell books. It's for me to go to school. So I'm going to talk to all these people who've been doing it so much longer and better than me. As to, bigger conferences or conventions, again, it's an exercise in marketing. Know the transaction you're involved in. I don't sell things at conventions at all. I have books on the table in case somebody wants to buy them. I do the show. I go there as a media outlet to do the show. Anything I sell is above and beyond. My transaction is give me an artist, put him in my chair, let me gather content. I went to MegaCon. I did 76 interviews in 4 days. So it's about content. I was hungry for content that weekend, and I got a half a year's content out of 4 days worth of work, and a case of laryngitis. So, there's always a bonus. So yes, go to conventions if you can.
Now, Chuck gives us a great question, and I really like this one. He asks, who do you look up to as a peer that is doing social media in a way that excites you? And I have so many people that I could list. It's actually kind of hard because there's so many people. I would, of course, mention both Brian and Garrett if they weren't already here. But to add on to that, you got Michael Watson, who does amazing work. You got Varian and Randy Zimmerman, who do Indie Vault. Victor Dandridge is always entertaining when he goes live, especially with the You Create Comics line and the stuff he's doing to help educate the children. And in general, I people I'm looking up to, because I know that you're asking specifically that, Chuck. I look up to a lot of creators who are out there busting their ass, like you do with your show where you do all the reviews, Chuck. And you're spending your time and you're giving that out. So I got to give credit to you for what you do. And I give credit to a lot of the creators stepping out of their comfort zone right now, getting on social media. My hat goes off to them, and I'm impressed by them because it excites me to see them stepping out of their comfort zone and trying to find a way to promote. I will say this. I do wish more people would work together. I'll say this, and I was planning to talk about it more tonight on my nightly You're Not Alone segment that I do every night. I am not doing my own specific online cons for the next couple of weekends because so many other people are now doing them. It's becoming noise, and we're all canceling each other out. So just last weekend, I hung out with Virtual Con. I know one way or the other I'm involved with CyberCon. I'm not exactly clear yet, but I'm sure wherever I am, I'll be happy to be, and I'll do what I'm doing. And I just don't want to be in the way of Garrett and what he's doing. I want to join up with other people, and I wish I'd see more of that. People working together for a common goal. I think too many people are trying to, and I've had it where people have been guests on my show, and they go off and go, that was easy. And I watch them try to do their own show, and it's not as easy, and they get disappointed when they don't get as many views. They give up on it too quickly without actually trying to build a base. You first have to go out there and be part of a conversation. And I really do wish that they would contact people like Garrett, like Chuck, like Brian K. Morris, and be on their shows and be part of something that's already established and build your name recognition that way. I'm not saying don't go out there and do your own thing. Make sure that you're ready to be out on your own. There's nothing wrong with coming up with people and learning from people. Remember, I started doing a lot of these online videos to just help promote people. The original videos I did, I used a tripod that hung here, my iPhone hung here, and recorded a computer screen. That was the high tech we had that started off everything that I did. And I never liked being on the cameras. And I'm on camera now more because I was getting a complaint that they didn't like just hearing my voice. Apparently I make funny faces, and the funny faces are entertaining people. So here I am to be a clown for you guys, to get you guys entertained. I prefer the just the logos and stuff, the free hugs and spank stuff. But apparently you guys want this for some reason. I don't know if you've been drinking, and I really think you need help. But what about you guys? Who are you looking up to right now? Who's blowing you away, and you consider someone that is a peer that's doing amazing stuff right now?
Well, in my case, I'll start out present company, of course, and Chuck, and a lot of the people that I've been watching on all these shows for the last month. That, like you say, there's so many creators who are stepping out of their comfort zone, and I'm seeing some people who are going to be genuine stars if they keep doing this. I think they're going to get a video following eventually, or sooner than later, actually. The people I look up to, though, as far as social media, are not exactly my peers. I'm not even in the same level of existence as them. I look up to people like in the YouTube arena, such as Philip DeFranco, who does a very balanced news show now, like 4 or 5 days a week. And I like how he approaches subjects. I like his presentation. And I like certain people who are authors that do shows that their shows are a little bit slicker than the original badly lit, camera staring up my nostrils shows that I did when I started out doing this thing. A lot of what you see now, my learning curve was painfully long. It's a wonder I'm not doing this on MySpace. But it's basically the people who are really at the top of their game. And I always feel that I should be looking upwards to the people up there and saying, okay, what can I do to get to that level? And and again, a lot of those, again, too many to name. So, but Rob, you're a pretty man, Rob. People love you. You are the stuff of Playgirl centerfold. So that's why they want to see you, Rob.
It's true. It is. It's true. It's in the chat somewhere, I'm sure.
I think so.
There's someone sexy there's just, and he was listen, I have had a booth babe. I'll be honest. I really went out and I got myself a booth babe. And like he made the boys come to the yard. His milkshake was what everyone wanted. I had Chuck be in my yard. And there
it is. You're talking about peers, and we can't talk about peers without talking about the one and only Chuck Fennell.
Of course.
I mean, come on, that's not even fair to have us. I mean, now we're all on screen with him. They can see our faces and his face. It's I don't know what to do here.
Same with me. I'm signing off. I can't compete.
I got it. Hey, we know when we're beat. No, guys.
Garrett, I want to mention one thing real quick.
Yeah.
Garrett. We're at the 1 hour mark. I like to, because I always invite people on for 1 hour. We're, of course, going to continue the conversation. If anyone has to leave now because we're at the 1 hour mark, no harm, no foul. But we are going to continue this conversation.
With Chuck here? Oh, my God. You're asking us to leave? No way.
Wow. Now, we're finally Brian and I were finally in a room with Chuck, and he wants us to leave.
Thank you, God.
You know what I'm saying?
Thank you so much.
This is my bucket list. You finally kicked one off. Chuck,
your show was one of the best ones I've done, by the way.
Oh, you're talking to That's
Hang
all.
on with Web Show. I had a blast at MegaCon.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, man, absolutely.
It is, and I say this, I don't say this with any false humility. I truly mean this. It is a privilege to do what I do with so many amazing creators. Every day I wake up and I get to do this is a day that I'm truly thankful for, because it is an absolute privilege. I get to hang out with incredible creators who are doing amazing things, and all I have to do is sit here and go. Awesome. So I mean, it really is. But we were talking about peers, and I have to say that I am like Brian. I don't look at the ones around me, my friends, as those things that I look at the most. I want them to succeed. I want them to do well. I think every podcaster and YouTuber and creative content generator that I know, I wish the very best for, and I consider them my friends and my peers. All you have to do is sit in my chair once, and we're friends. And Chuck and you can say, we send emails, we send messages. I mean, that's it. You sit in my chair, I own you. It's good. I'm going to message you. I'm going to message your wife. So don't tell me her name. It's going to happen.
He loves it.
But the people I look to are those guys that started it all, man. I look to a model of, we're broadcasters. We may be using the internet, but at our core, that's what we are. We're broadcasters. So I'm looking at Johnny Carson, and I'm looking at Jay Leno, and I'm looking at I'm looking at Ed Sullivan. I'm looking at the guys that created what I do, and they did it so much better than I do it. They did it so well and so seamlessly that they're iconic within an industry. And so I look at those guys and say, okay, what is Jimmy Kimmel doing? I know what I don't want to do that's like him, but what's he doing, and how's he engaging? And I can tell you, when the Tonight Show finally got a YouTube channel so they could post individual segments and interviews, I did a happy dance. I did this huge happy dance, because I thought, what I'm doing must be good. What I'm doing must be important, because now the people who have the money to do the research to see what the numbers really are, they're putting their money into what I'm doing. And so I could see that, and I looked at it, I said, so those are the guys I look to. I say, hey, look, if it's good enough for Jimmy Kimmel, Jimmy Fallon, all the Jimmys, if anybody named Jimmy that's on TV can do it, then we must be taking a bite out of that market, which means that what we do is important and vital, and it keeps me motivated. And that's what I want to be. I don't necessarily want to do what they do, but I want to be that for our community. When you sit in my chair, when Chuck sits in my chair, when these guys come in and they sit, I want to do this for our community. Because let's face it, what are the odds that Brian or Chuck or me or Rob are going to be on Jimmy Kimmel anytime too soon?
Speak for yourself. Anyway,
Garrett, I'll
sorry.
throw you a shout out when I'm on Jimmy Kimmel, and I'll be like, Garrett wants to be on your show. I'll let him.
That's right. Garrett wants to be on your show.
My good friend Garrett, who I had lunch with the other day.
Yeah. I want to be, when I go on Jimmy Kimmel, I will spend all my time gawking at camera equipment and sound equipment and lights, looking around going, oh, finally, that's how I can do that. I'm always looking for, how can I do that on my budget? So like I went to a stage show, and I saw the huge tracks and the pipe and drape and all the huge stuff that they put up at a gantry that they put up. And I looked at it and I studied it for about an hour. And I went to Walmart and I bought myself a canopy that you get from, like to go out in the backyard. I stripped the top off of it, and I started looking at where the piping was and where I could hang lights and where I could do things. So my set when I travel is that canopy now, with the set built into the back of it and the lighting hanging from the roof. And it's all based on, I looked at that gantry and I said, how can I build that on my budget? And then travel with it, because mine needs to be portable. I don't have a tractor trailer. I need to put it in the back of a van. So how can I build it on my budget with my space and get it to where I'm going? And so those are my peers. I look to them all the time and say, hey, if you're doing a big concert, a big stage show, if you're doing a talk show, whatever, even a local college talk show or whatever, I'll go in there and just study. This is what I want to know how to do. And so far, so good. It's worked. I've had, some amazing talent come in and sit down with us, and I'm, it's a privilege. It truly is. So.
Now, Chuck, as someone who asked that question yourself, who do you as a peer look up to and go, they're doing some great stuff?
the thing about trends is that we have to not only be looking ahead of us at what has come before us, but also around us and at the stuff that's coming up. So if you're looking forward for what a trend is, you're going to be, like you said earlier, the 20th guy making a damn zombie book. So I am kind of looking at the guys around me like, what are you doing right? And what can I kind of, not so much steal, but add as a tool to my own shows and my own ideas to move forward. So I saw several people doing live, not great. And I thought I can do live. So I started, here and there. I haven't been doing it like you guys do where it's scheduled, but even not doing scheduled live shows, it's been a lot of fun. I've kind of found my own rhythm, saw what Brian did, how he would interact with his guests and all that. And I was like, okay, cool. I'm snagging that for sure. I like that. So I think if we're going to look into trends, we have to not only look ahead to what did work, but also what is working down here that I can add to my own toolbox.
That makes sense. All right. So Carl comes back to us. Carl Witzman is back, and he says, does doing a convention help to build a social media presence? Do you hand out cards for that? Absolutely does help to be social. We have 40,000 subscribers because on 41,000 subscribers on indieadvocates.com because of the conventions I've done. There's no way that has not been a huge driving force behind it. The one mistake I made was never making an email list. So I've sold a lot of comic books and haven't had the ability for people to interact with me enough. Like early on in my career, I wasn't promoting myself enough. I was only promoting Indie Advocates, and that was problematic. And right now we're not doing a lot with Indie Advocates because we're staying on Facebook because that's where people are right now. So we're trying not to get anyone off Facebook using OnCon temporarily as a home base. But I would definitely say so. What do you think, Chuck, since you're new to the program? Has being at conventions helped build up your social media presence?
100%. Not only just with fans and whatnot, but also networking with other people, other professionals and whatnot. Yeah, it's huge. So the whole time you're not only building your own fan base, but you're also building up a group of peers who are going to be able to help you out, talk to you about things, and kind of keep you on track and whatnot. And hopefully, of course, as the rising tide says, you're going to be helping them as well, and you're going to be doing the same thing. So, yeah, 100%. That's what it is.
Yeah, and I'll join in on that. And thank you for the shout out, Chuck. It means a lot, honestly. But yeah, in the last couple of years, I have my business card, and on the back is how to find me on social media. So all of this creates a synergy. And Rob, don't tell anyone, don't anybody listen. Rob, I can teach you how to assemble a mailing list, even at this stage. So, because I've started doing mine, and I've got a monthly newsletter now, which goes out the very first of the month. So check with me on social media, and you can sign up for my monthly newsletter and always promote. Anyway, I'm such a.
That's what we call a cheap pop, kids.
That's right. And I'm the king of the cheap pop. Let me tell you that right now. But no, seriously. And it's, a lot of this, and, going back to promotion, it's not, you hear the phrase, it's not rocket science. Believe me, it's not. People, when I started doing the independent thing full time back in 2012, nobody was talking about a lot of the stuff that we do now as a matter of course. I tell people I'm kind of retrofitting my social media. But yeah, it does, you go to conventions, you make a sale, or you just talk to somebody. Here's my card. Hey, by the way, I do this show every morning at 10 o'clock. You may want to tune in. And people come in, and every now and then I will mention one of my books when I remember to do so. And suddenly my Amazon, little ticker goes up like this. So note to self, start mentioning the damn books. But anyway, yeah. And the thing is also, I have found that there are some shows I don't give away my card. I only give it away because, like, a lot of comic shows I find are like rummage, or it's more like scavenger hunts. People are looking for free stuff only, like you mentioned earlier, Garrett, about pop it, the free stuff in the bag, and never look at it again. Well, these still cost a little bit of money, even if it's a fraction of a cent. And I'd rather put it in the hand of somebody that appreciates it. And I have a second card that reminds people to leave me reviews online. And I have a way to personalize it to make sure that it becomes something special to them. But this is all stuff you pick up in the course of studying. So, but to bring it back home to the original subject. Anyway, Garrett?
Yeah. So the conventions help you on social media? Yes. So essentially, okay. So I struggled with this years and years ago, how to explain social media to my kids. And what I came up with was the way of telling them social media is the world's largest cocktail party. Everybody's in there. The downside is that because we're on our computers in our living rooms with no pants on, we think we're alone. See, I caught Chuck, and I got them all. They're all going, oh man, he's in our. Where's he at? So yeah, we think we're alone, but we're not alone. We're in the world's largest cocktail party. Because of that, you go to one cocktail party, you meet some people. That's nice. You go to another cocktail party, a different kind of cocktail party, say a convention. You meet some more people. And those people go to that cocktail party that you're on at home, and they go looking for you. When you walk into a cocktail party, the first thing you do is you look around, you look at, oh, where's that guy I met the last time I was here? So when you go to a convention, you introduce yourself in person to someone, you hand them a push card or a business card or something along those lines. You're introducing them so that when they go to their Facebook cocktail party, they go looking for you because they don't want to talk to a bunch of strangers. They have 1 billion strangers out there. They want to talk to that one person or that two people that they know. Everybody does it. We all do it. When you're going to have your car fixed, what's your dad tell you the first time you're going to have your car fixed? Don't worry about it, son. I know a guy. And that's what your audience is looking for. They're looking to know a guy. So when you get to know them at a convention, you get to talk to them and communicate for a few minutes and give them that push card, engage with them for a second, and they go home, they join the Facebook cocktail party, and they go, I know a guy, and they start looking for you. And so, yes, it's important. And to kind of camp onto what everybody else has said about that and things like the push cards and the things that cost things, you want to engage. You don't just hand somebody a card and walk away. You don't do that anywhere else. Why do we think that when we go to a convention that'll work? You wouldn't do that if you were walking door to door. I had the great privilege of my very first book that gave me the confidence, I think, to sit at my keyboard was a nonfiction book. It was actually a how to run a political campaign book. It was a manual. And I had read so many when I was working in public relations for campaigns that I realized that there wasn't one that dealt with the real nuts and bolts, what to do every day. There was like why to run, like this and be a policy wonk and all these things. But there wasn't one on how to do it, the nuts and bolts, how to get volunteers, how to get marketing done, how to get that. So that was my first book. And it was about 4 years before social media exploded. And so there's literally like 2 lines in this book that deal with social media. And they're like, stay away, ignore it. It's a pain in the butt.
That part they got right.
Yeah. Now, if I'd have written that book 4 years later, I would have said, you cannot ignore this. It's a wave. And so that being said, I would say that all of the rules that I wrote for my candidates in campaigning apply to every person that's marketing a product or service. A campaign is an exercise in marketing. You are selling one product, and you have exactly 8 hours with which to to corner the market. You need 50% plus 1 market share at the end of a 12-hour day from 7 to 7. You can't sell it for 2 weeks early. You can't sell it 2 weeks later. You have to sell it between the hours of 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. on the second Tuesday following the second Monday of the month of November. So, but it's a marketing study. And so what do? We send mailers. We do advertising. We do radio. We do all of these things. If you are selling a product, look at those things and say, can I do them? When I go into an area to do a convention, I might buy a 30-second ad on the radio for 2 weeks before that, telling people about my book and how they should ask their local Barnes & Noble to carry it. Just 30 seconds, and I'll hit them for 2 weeks, 14 days. And then I'll go to a convention and somebody will come, I just heard about it. Where do I know your name from? When you were driving over here, you probably heard it. So you apply your marketing techniques based on, that environment. And definitely when you go to a convention, hand out those cards, engage with those people, and then send them off, listen to the radio, watch the television, and meet you on social media. And social media is wonderful because you can interact. By the way, I wanted to compliment Brian, and I think I know Chuck just did, but guys, the king of social media engagement during a broadcast is Brian. You engage better than anyone I've ever seen, because you literally engage with people in the chat room. And we all try to keep up with that flow. You actually succeed. I mean, I can catch one every 12 comments going by. I'm going, yeah, get that one, put it in there. But you really have conversations with, could be 50 people one night, and you just have a conversation with all of them as best you can. Yeah. And I think that's amazing, and it's remarkable, and it's what social media was designed to do. So we should be all looking to that as an example.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the compliment. I sincerely do. And there's one thing to remember is that this is supposed to be interactive media, which means they talk, I talk. And it's like I say, the first time I broadcast, it was going to be 5 minutes of how wonderful I am. But I started looking at the comments and realizing this is a lot more fun than me climbing aboard the mountain, coming down with 2 stone tablets. So, but thank you very much for that. And that's half the fun for it, is engaging with the audience. It's kind of its own reward.
All right, guys, we're going to get back to some comments. We had thank you for the link in the main feed. I think that was Sarah. Also,
hey, Sarah.
Sarah writes, Barbara Unleashed by Anderson Robb is one of those that I can't get enough of and would pay more for. Read what was sent to me from beginning to end. Addicted. Now that's how a seller does their job. Why, thank you, Sarah.
Okay, we're real quick, Rob. She said she would pay more. We need to find out how much more.
Well, the more is me.
Rob, would you drop your PayPal in here so she can pay more?
No, I take care of my fans.
She wants to give you more money, my man.
Look, and I'm all for that, giving more content. I appreciate that. That's what you want, an encore. She's asking me to do an encore, and I'm happy to do so. Again, I apologize because I'm not sure who did this one. It's a Facebook user. Do the books matter? Sometimes I'm shocked at the acceptance and popularity of people who don't deliver on their Kickstarters. They keep posting, but personally, I feel ashamed to be out there posting so much. Marcel Dupree is not welcome on this show, or we would ask him. Well, actually, he is welcome. To be fair, I've invited him many times. He's just running from me. We even have, if you guys bear with me for just a second, I do want to send out a concerned message. We are missing Marcel Dupree. If anyone has seen this man, he is welcome onto the show to talk about the way he feels. I am concerned about his well-being. The last time he was seen, it was running away from a debate with me. So if anyone has any whereabouts about him, please send us your messages. So no, to answer your question and comment is, do the books matter? Absolutely. Those who don't fulfill on Kickstarter give us all a bad name. And as you can see, I have no sympathy nor no safe space for them. I will leave this to Chuck because Chuck knows more about this, and I'm going to let Chuck take this one away. Go ahead, Chuck.
Well, and to go back, Sarah had said something really interesting. She had talked about Barbara Unleashed. By the way, the editor on that book is really good, but that's neither here nor there. But you're right. It's a good book, and you enjoyed it. But that has nothing to do with how good of a salesman he is, because the thing is that anyone can sell you anything. He not only sold it to you, he made you want to keep coming back for more. And so that's the same thing with this topic we're talking about with Kickstarter, is that I can get you to buy into my Kickstarter. That's not the issue. The issue is getting you to be a fan and to come back for more. I have to keep delivering. I have to keep giving you quality stories with solid art and stuff that you really appreciate, and I have to give it in a timely manner. So yes, it sucks that some of these people do abuse it. And those people, I would say, make people aware of if you see them supporting it, and then move along. But for those people who are doing it right and those people you really appreciate, share it, show it off, talk about it, because that's the best thing that you can do for those people. Again, anyone can sell anything. I can sell ketchup to a woman with white gloves, but that doesn't matter because she's probably not going to buy anything from me again because I screwed up her beautiful gloves. So instead, if I gave her something nice that didn't stain, she'd probably like me more and buy more stuff later.
Very good.
Absolutely. I do. I want to jump in here. I'm not a comic book salesman. I have my books. I like most published authors. Everything we do is on spec. We don't get paid until the book's already on a bookshelf. So I can't really speak to that. What I would say is this. Look for quality creators with a track record, but understand when you go to a Kickstarter campaign, like any place else, like any other investment on the world, yeah, you're buying a book, but that's not what they're selling on Kickstarter. They're selling faith in themselves. And there are those, and there are very notable those that abuse that process. However, failure in a business endeavor is an option. It does happen. Yeah. So do your homework. If you want to look at somebody on Kickstarter or anywhere, any other crowdfunding platform, and see if they're good to invest in, if you want to buy that book and invest in that publishing venture, do your homework and do your research. And if someone fails, look to see if they failed or if they messed with you, because they're two different things and they're two different mindsets. And there is a group of people out there that will mess with you, that will take your money and go away. But there's another group of people out here who genuinely take your money and then fail. And when that happens, they might come to you later on and say, I've got a better idea, a better book, a better concept, a better everything. But you want to know what you're getting into. They failed the first time. They could still fail the second time. It's one of those situations. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. So know what you're looking at when you're making those investments, because you're not really buying a book. You're investing in an artist to get him to finish that book. And so that failure is an option. And some of these guys do fail after giving it the legitimate good old college try. Unfortunately, as Rob pointed out earlier, some of them don't fail. Some of them just walk away. And that therein lies a huge difference. So try to know as best you can, buyer beware, know who you're investing in first. And that comes back to our social media discussion. They should be investing their time and energy in cultivating you already. So you should be getting to know them as an artist well before they ask for your $5 or $7 or $10. Before they ask for your money, they should have taken the time to get to know you. If they didn't, buyer beware.
And I will say this, if you take people's money and you don't deliver and you do it more than once, you're going to have people like me who are going to talk about you and are going to expose you. And it's not about airing dirty laundry. It's about warning other people about bad operators. What do you think, Brian?
Well, I agree with the points made so far 100%. And I would also say to creators that a Kickstarter is a great way to have a direct conversation with your audience and to build your social platform so that you can assemble a mailing list, so you can keep in touch with them so that they know about your future projects. And I found the key. I've done one Kickstarter that I initiated, and I found the key is under promise and over deliver, and total transparency along the way. If you screw up, let people know. People are pretty forgiving. But if you say, I'm going to do X for you and you do X plus one, all the better. So don't promise anything. Don't make promises you can't keep, and the promises you keep deliver more than what you offered.
Well, and I want to what he said, which is so important, which is don't promise anything you can't deliver, or try to promise things that you're like, not only are you guaranteed to deliver, but you're guaranteed to know that measure of success as soon as that one person buys. That's it. If you only have one, because I'll tell you, I've seen large crowdfunding campaigns. I saw a crowdfunding campaign raise over $450,000, $450,000, and have to go to all of its people and have sold so much of different products that they didn't have enough. They had to go back and get more. And all the audience, even the audience who gave them $400,000, all they wanted was to know what you were doing for them, to know that you had to order more, to know that you had to get a different mail house because they couldn't handle the orders, to know that maybe you had to get a different printer because they couldn't handle the orders. The big key that came out of that Kickstarter campaign was they learned to communicate with these fans, because that's the key. They don't expect you to deliver 100% on every promise every single time, no matter what happens. No, if you fail or if you over succeed, things change. They expect communication. This is a dialogue. It's not a, hey, give me your money and run. You've got to have a dialogue.
We have a comment, and I believe this is from Dan Sin, and he says, great social media presence is great, but you have to know the facts about who is creating content. And I think that this, even this comment in itself expresses failure. If you're on social media and have a great social media presence and people don't know who you are, you've already failed. That means that you've already, you've kind of confused the audience. And I can say this as someone who has confused the audience. Being the indie advocate was something given to me, forced on me, and so did a set of rules of who I had to be got thrown onto me, and that's where you got the indie devil. And having those two different personas taught the audience that I wasn't just this cardboard character, and that was a mistake I made early on. I was trying to be so supportive of people. People didn't even realize I was a creator in my own right. People didn't know I created comics, and that was a failure I had. So this is talking from personal experience and not trying to throw shade on anyone or any person. You have to let people know who you are, and sometimes we get lost in letting other people dictate who we are. And I know Brian K. Morris has talked a little bit about this, about, you know, he doesn't curse on air. People are kind of shocked by when he does curse, or he's his own person off air. And I think that we've all experienced that a little bit. So I'll let Brian start with that, because I failed and fixed it by having dual personalities. So it matches with me being crazy. But what about you, Brian? How have you convinced the world that you're a human being, flesh and blood, and this is who I am? I am the person behind my content.
I think part of it, well, my initial base was people that knew me in real life. So they know that I'm this disorganized, goofy guy who's a bit of an attention whore. And despite, you know, my inward shyness, believe it or not. But then I think a lot of people can tell when you broadcast what kind of person you are. I mean, it's not like those voices from the 60s radio. Hey, boys and girls, hi, this is your hyper cool, you know, disc jockey sort of thing. You know, and I don't even try to be anything that I am not, aside from, you know, certain things like not swearing, because I believe that kind of limits my audience to a large degree and will alienate certain people who, whether they swear or not, just don't want to hear it. But I just let the real whatever me shine through whenever I do a broadcast. I mean, I've had shows where, you know, I don't hide the fact that I'm down, or if I'm hyper about something, I don't hide that either. You know, that's why I'm the cheerleader and self-appointed cheerleader in chief of these United States now, because, you know, I have things I believe in, and I believe in, you know, even with all that's going on, we got to be positive, we got to be smart, because as I've been telling people, fear makes you stupid, and stupidity makes you scared. So I'm here, you know, with that, you know, just being myself to a large degree, with, you know, just some of the rough edges taken off with any luck. And I think people sense that.
Yeah. Well, you know, building a good social media presence, as our Facebook friend says, it's about more than numbers. You have to start with a core. You have to start with an identity. You have to start with something that's tangible and real. Because you can have all the numbers in the world again, but good branding has always been about knowing that identity, having something, the core to go to. When you walk into a restaurant or a bar or wherever, you go in and if you don't, I don't drink, so you order a Coke. And the waitress says to you, well, we have RC products or we have Pepsi products. Oh, yeah, that's what I meant. But you order a Coke. Coke has branded themselves as that. So, but the distinction is they didn't just brand themselves as Coke. So you don't go in and order a Coke when you want rum. You go in and order a Coke when you want cola. They have an identity, a core. So they may be number one as that core. Now, somebody says we'll carry Pepsi products. Oh, okay. Well, I don't even know what that means in many cases. I know what it means for cola. It means they have Pepsi instead of Coke. But I don't know what it means for the other brands. I don't know all of the labels underneath of that brand. So the thing to remember is start with your core, build your social media presence based on the identity that you have. Just like Brian said, you have to be yourself. Well, I'm a piece of myself on the show. I'm a piece of myself when I'm interviewing. I'm a piece, but my core is me. And start with your core, share that with your audience. It will build naturally, organically, and you will be better off for it. Because people will at least feel that they understand you. They're not going to know all of your innermost thoughts. Honestly, I preach this to my children. We don't talk about when me and my family fight on Facebook. I don't go on Monday morning and go, oh my gosh, this happened and I had no, we don't do that. But, I do share the good things. I do share the things I'm proud of, and because they're part of my core. When I get angry and fuss and fight, as Brian said, fear makes you stupid, right? So when I get anger does the same thing. So I get angry and I get fussed about things around the house or yelling at my kids or my family or whatever it is. It's not my best self. As a matter of fact, I don't know about you guys. We're all guys here, so we can all admit it. After you do that, right? After you get all puffed up and get angry, you usually find out that you're the one apologizing. On account of usually it brought out the version of you that you're not the most proud of. So we don't share those on Facebook. So when you're building a social media presence, find your core, find your best self, and build it based on that. So when people order a Coke, they want cola because that's what Coke is at its core. That's what Pepsi is at its core. Build your brand around a core that you can be proud of and that you want to promote, an identity that you're proud of. And I think you'll do. I can promise you this. Whether you become the next PewDiePie or you don't, you will do well and you will do fine.
Amen.
I'll say that I disagree with Dan's statement when he says great social media presence is great, but you have to know the facts about who's creating that content. No, you actually don't have to. How many terrific TV shows and movies and stuff do you watch and you have no idea who wrote it? So it's not that you have to know that. It's that this is our advantage. This is an advantage that we can take to show you who we are and really show you the kinds of stories that we tell. So that when you read something that we enjoy, like one of my favorite writers is Brian K. Vaughan. He's done tons of comics, but he's also done some really great TV shows. I loved his work on Lost, and I knew that when he worked on a project, there was something specific that I was going to get out of that. And that's because I felt like I knew him and I knew what he was going to bring to a project. So we don't have to know about the creator. This is an advantage that the creator has to show themselves to you so that they can bring you onto those projects that they're working on. Not my dogs. I'm good.
Not my fault. Not my fault.
I don't know if it was what Chuck said or just his mannerisms. The dog went crazy. So
I have that effect on dogs and women. Trust me.
I get it.
Make women bark?
All left after the dog. I don't understand what's going on. But yeah, no. Follow up on that, guys. Remember something about social media. Social media has given us some artifice in our lives, and it's been good for the most part. But it is still artificial. For example, it's called your friends list, not your contact list. But I can honestly say that my friends list is maxed out. I don't know I'm not personal friends with 5,000 people. How nice that would be if I had time in my life to be personal friends with 5,000 people. But I'm not. They call it my friends list. But if you're on my friends list, you may know of me. You may know about me. I may even know about you. But that we're not buddies. We're not going to the ball game together. We're not hanging out at the beach together. It's a sense of artifice. And a lot of people early on in social media went out. One of the things they did was they friended. They became, before fan pages were a big thing, they friended all these celebrities that they liked, all these creators that they thought were amazing. And they joined their friends list. And so you would literally go around your town and you would say to somebody, let's say you like Jodie Whittaker from Doctor Who. You would literally go around once you friended Jodie and tell everybody, oh, I'm friends with Jodie on Facebook. No, you're really not friends with Jodie. Jodie knows of you because she sees your number. You're one of the 5,000, and you now follow whatever Jodie posts. But that doesn't make you, friends. You're not hanging out. You're not going to the bar together. So that artifice is something that I think our Facebook user was speaking to, because there's a sense of artifice that when you join somebody's Facebook following, you get to know them. You get to know what they want you to know. In the independent community, that's quite a bit. I mean, we share a lot, but
overshare in some cases.
In some cases we did. In some cases we way overshare, but
guilty.
You're not getting to know that person necessarily. That's something that happens on a whole different level. And I think that as we talk about social media marketing and promotion, we have to identify the artifice that's between us and our audience, because our audience genuinely think, hey, I follow GW Pomichter on Facebook. We're tight. We're like this, dude. I'm being honest, and I think my peers will be just as honest. I literally don't know who you are. I know that you like my Facebook page. I appreciate it so much, and if I have time to have a chat with you, I will. But if I don't, I won't, because we're not hanging out. We're not having beer and dogs together. It's just not a thing. So we have to get past that artifice. I think Chuck was right. You're not going to know the person. Yeah. You have to know the quality of work is what you really want to know.
I love that you mentioned that, because there was a guy, I put up this post today, and I was like, hey, we're all in a quarantine. Feel free to ask me my first impression of you. And I had all these people jump on, and they're like, what was your first impression of me? And I'm like, who the hell are you? I don't know you, man. Like,
I'm surprised you answered me.
We've never tried. And I answered every single one of them. But
you're great.
I went to their Facebook page and I said, well, from what I see, this is my first impression of you. But we've never spoken. I checked my messenger. You've never talked to me. So yeah, no, it's totally. A lot of us
I used to do, you get, Facebook is really good about telling everybody your birthday. Remind me to send a nice letter to Zuckerberg and thank him for telling everybody on Earth my birthday. But you get all the birthday wishes, right? Everybody, happy birthday! Couldn't have a nicer guy. I used to try to answer every single happy birthday with a personal comment, something that demonstrated that I paid attention to who you were. So you might say happy birthday, Garrett, and I'd look it up and I go, oh, happy birthday, Chuck, and I see you have this book and it's great and awesome. I can't do it anymore. It's too much. Yeah. And it truly is. It feeds that sense of artifice. People are then thinking, oh, he's paying attention to everything I'm doing. So if I know you and we've had this conversation before or whatever, I'll send you back a nice message. If I don't, thank you is about the best I can muster, because I don't have time to look to see who you are. And as much as they're calling us friends on Facebook, it's artifice, and we want to build a truthful relationship, which means me telling you, I don't know who you are. I just don't. So I want to, I just don't. So,
all right, guys, we're going to have to go into a much quicker light speed round, because we're heading on to 2 hours, and I'm sure everyone's got stuff to do. And I got to take Jax for our nightly walk, because it's the only time he gets outside right now. So I take him out on a walk around 6:15, 6:30 at night. So we're going to do is a lightning speed round. So try to be as short and concise as you can be to the answers, so we can just get things in and out. If you don't have anything really to add, feel free to pass on it. So here we go. Sarah says, we do love you, Anderson Rob. I appreciate that. I really do. And trust me, it goes backwards. I appreciate all you guys giving the time to me. A calendar with listing of all the online cons would help organize and attendees to know where and when to find, and to prevent events happening at the same time. Everyone can work together. Honestly, I'll just answer this for everyone. That's ego. People aren't working together because everyone thinks they can do it better. Yeah. Just the truth. It is just honestly the truth. Everyone wants to be the hero. No one wants to be the person behind the scenes actually getting things done. We do post everything on OnCon for everyone. It's open to everyone. Just support people. And remember, I'm going to give this to all of you out there watching. If you're doing something online, stop doing it on the weekend. It doesn't always have to be on the weekend. Notice we're doing something in the middle of the week. Start doing cons in the middle of the week. Stop trying to act like they have to be on Saturday and Sunday. They don't. They can be any weekday. So if you're noticing everyone doing it on a weekday, do it on Hump Day. Make it Hump Day Con. Let's see. I need to start a hobby of collecting business cards. It's a hobby, and I have people's business cards of who does what and when. I'm not sure who did. Oh, author Deborah Pamley says that. Cool. Go you. Post it online so we can all learn everyone's business.
Thank you, Deborah Parmley, for coming in and joining the chat today, too.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
That's got to be a cool. I have hundreds of cards. I never thought of like putting them on poster boards. Maybe I'll wallpaper my office when I finally get my office. I'll just have business cards as my wallpaper. And someone says Chuck. I don't know who, but Chuck.
That's what we said.
That is what they said.
Hey, Brian, Sarah never got your business card. Now you have to mail it to her. I hope.
Well, now I've got a new one, Sarah. I've got a brand new one, and when we finally have our meeting, I'll give you 2 of them because I care.
Issue 2.
Ted Davies says I interact with customers at my table. I hate. I don't know why you're hating your customers, Ted, but yeah, you need to interact with people to get money. So keep doing
my customers.
I love all my customers because they're going to spend my money. I might not like their politics, but I love that they're spending time with me and donating it to me. So nothing but respect for people who give me their time, even if they have a swastika. What I'll do is I'll just try to change their opinion by writing great stories and show them that there's a bigger world than the one that they know. Because a lot of people, it's just you're raised with hate, and you can change that. For a lot of people, you can change it with good storytelling. And we have I interact. I interact and do not give cards out to have them get on my social media platforms while I'm talking to them, or while I think they did give out cards to have them, or while they purchase products. In other words, they're just giving it to people they interact with. They're not randomly just passing it. Do you guys random pass, or do you pick and choose? Real quick, Brian.
Pick and choose.
Chuck.
I always ask them if they want one.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
If I'm doing it myself, I pick and choose. I do send a team out like pre-show sometimes before a con, and I send the team out and let them do whatever it is they do. So, but if it's me personally, they're there to see me, so I should talk to them.
Right.
The Pyramid Knight says this is a really great show, very interesting, informative. Thank you very much.
I agree.
Love you, Brian K. Morris.
The love.
This comes from Sarah. Build a client base, not a customer base. Keep them coming back. I don't know that there are clients, there are customers. I would say that's in reverse because a client works for you, right? Am I wrong?
I have clients. As an editor, I have clients.
A client,
as a writer, it's customers.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Because
I have an audience.
There you go.
For some reason that doubled up. Probably just a Facebook acting funny. Someone's lying and saying that you're a great editor. No, that's Sarah, because she read the editing you did. And Sarah said,
you are Chuck.
Nah.
Oh, come on, you are.
And then thanks Sarah to Tim, and then anytime spot on. Sarah said, "Okay, Marcel Dupree is a great Kickstarter promoter. LOL. He actually is.
Yeah,
you can say a lot of things about him, but you cannot say he doesn't know how to fund a Kickstarter. That boy knows what he's doing when it comes to stealing your money. Respect him from his ability to con you out of your hard-earned money. Never doubt that for a second.
And he knows how to find good artists.
Yes.
And screw them, but he knows good art.
Yep.
Yeah, he's got that front half of the Kickstarter equation down. It's that last half about delivery he's a little shaky at.
Yeah. Sorry for that comment. I'm just a little pissed off hearing what he did. Oh, talking about Marcel Dupree. That's okay. You can kick him as much as you want. I'll sit around and watch. Yeah. Another Facebook user gives us, even though it's a Fez, I still want Brian K. Morris. This is from Sarah. Brian K. Morris riding around a con in a goth Shriner's car, like an old school Shriner car's size hearse. I still haven't managed to make that happen. But that's what GoFundMe is for. Well, we need
I think it. We should Kickstarter that.
No, fund me.
As long as Sarah's sitting on my lap while I'm driving around, that's cool.
Brian is from an older generation that doesn't understand the Me Too movement. After this project,
I just won't pay attention to it. Anyway,
you can ride shotgun.
I'll explain to Boomer why that's bad. Let's see. Pyramid Knight says, some people think I'm an asshole. I should just stop reading right there. Like, how funny would that be? No, he goes on to say, because of my job. No, you make me an asshole because of your attitude. I'm sure that goes for your broadcast. Now, in fairness, I do know Gary Henderson is a police officer, and they do get a lot of heat that they don't deserve. But, Gary, if you'd stop writing me a ticket just because I'm going 115 on a highway, why would you make a road so easy to go 115 on, Gary? That's your fault. That's all your fault. Speed bumps.
I-10 was made for that.
I know. Isn't it the Autobahn? What is it? Only Germany? Come on. This is America.
And no one makes me an asshole. I can do that on my own. I
got that on lock.
He cursed wherever he is, wherever the hell you are, somewhere over there Brian is. And the damn reverse thing for a dyslexic.
We're not off the rails, guys. We lost the rails.
I don't even have a clue where the rails are.
All right. Someone said, I'm a guy. I need to check again. Oh, wait. I think you mean those on the panel.
Yeah, I am.
So
Facebook user, if indeed you are not a guy, then yes, it was those on the panel. We know we have several lovely ladies in our chat room.
This is Sarah, for the record. We're after the hour, so I don't have to be serious at all while learning at the same time. That's right.
Yeah.
Usually after the first hour, things fall apart.
Yeah.
Just because the patience level, like we all try to behave for about 60 minutes and it wears off. Let's see. All dogs went howling in agony. It sounded like. Well, what can I say? Chuck attracts the bitches.
In my defense, I would like to announce I have just been notified there was a lizard involved. And every dog owner understands the dynamic there.
Did the lizard survive? Find out next week on Hanging with the Web Show. I was referring to not knowing that the creator does not deliver. People should not get suckered out of their money by a social media smile. And that is true. But, I mean, isn't that what the naked girls on Instagram are doing? Suckering you out of your money with a smile? Because that's all they're wearing.
Yeah, but you know what you're paying for there.
Yeah.
Either way, you're getting fucked.
No, you're not.
No, you're not. Trust me.
It's kind of a do-it-yourself program.
Yeah. There's no. Yeah. Wow. This
Brian,
went south in a hurry, boys.
Brian,
But I don't swear.
well, welcome to quarantine, boys. For us that are single, that's all we're getting right now. It's lefty or righty. So,
When quarantine started, I wasn't single, but after this show, I might be.
You and me both, Garrett. You and me both.
Dan Lee says, everyone will know me. I'm transparent as water. P.S. I don't care to get to know the business, you or anyone else. I like real people and loathe being sold stuff. All right. So, go ahead, Chuck.
Yeah, you know, that's the thing about what we're doing right here is that we're going to project only so much. Now, it doesn't mean that we're lying to you. It means that there's a side of us that, like, everybody wears a mask. Everybody wants to show you a certain side of them. I don't want you to see me pissed off at my family or frustrated by loud dogs or having to deal with clients that frustrate the heck out of me because they don't listen when I say the comma goes there, mother. So, yeah, man, I just don't want to show you that part of me. But it's there, absolutely, and we can become friends, and you might end up seeing that part of me.
Shit, am I supposed to not show those things?
And I wear many masks.
Yeah. So when my kid's doing something wrong and I take him to the woodshed, you're not supposed to go Facebook Live on that? Where were you a week ago? But I'll tell you, I got good ratings. I got good ratings.
Live and learn, Rob. Live and learn.
Ratings are king.
I was wrong. I said something about the Me Too movement, but Sarah's into it. Sarah's into riding on BK Morris's lap, and she says that she'll wear the Avigator goggles going 1 mile per hour. Now, with Brian K. Morris's hips, we might have to go 0.5 an hour. He's an older man. We don't want to risk him. You know, we want to get him out alive.
I'm willing to do this for everyone's sake. I'm with you, Sarah. Thank you for being with me.
Take one for the team.
Appreciate Brian's willingness to take one for the team.
I'm here for you guys.
You know, Please, no showing lower shots. We don't want to see what's going on. So the beer midnight says that take the lead out of your boot on the other. Take the lead. That's me reading it wrong.
Okay.
Out of your boot, and on the other hand, our town needs your ticket money. Well, just ticket me for peeing in the park. I do that a lot. It's just it's hard to find the bathroom. You get more money, and I don't get points on my license. Kidding around aside, do you know this is serious? And I want everyone listening to me. If you pee in public now, they try to actually put you on a sexual registry now.
I heard something about that.
Because you're nude in public. So seriously, pee your pants, guys. Don't pee in public anymore. Yeah. Seriously.
Don't wait till you're my age.
Yep. They have adult diapers for just ask Brian where to get them. Dan Lee says, I would love
that much.
Sarah says, yes, fun. And then one final, we made it to the last one. We can make money to have a pic of this. Yes, taken of this. Yeah, I want to see Brian Morris in the K Morris mobile, and I want it to be like the Pope mobile, where there's actually stuff so he can't get assassinated.
Yeah, this is brilliant. Let's see, where's my pen? Okay, I'm writing it down. Pope-mobile, Fizzmobile, Sarah's on lap. Okay, we got it. Thank you, guys.
And it has to be, I disagree. It has to be more like in Major League when they brought out the guys from the park, the little golf cart they always have to take out the broken athletes. That's what it has to be, but it has to be a giant fez that you ride on top of, right? And it has to be supercharged with like some really big rims and some big exhaust. Yeah. It has to play music.
Hell yeah.
If you do all that, then we're good. I'm thinking of the Pope mobile too, Sarah. See, it's a thing now. He's the Pope of the geeks. That's what we'll call him, and he'll have a nice robe.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Father Brian here. Come sit on my lap and make a confession.
Wow. Whoa.
We work together.
You just broke the internet.
I'm not swearing. Get that off of me, Rob. Get that off of me.
And then Dan Lee. All right. We do got to take off now, so we're gonna. Brian K. Morris is getting murdered by Cookie tonight. We'll let him say to the audience right now and goodbyes. And where can we find your memorial sites when you're gone?
Hi, I'm located 6 feet under Lafayette, Indiana, probably by morning. No, I'm Brian K. Morris, and irreverence aside, which is what I'm kind of noted for, in my famous book, Sadistine, sold on 6 different countries. It's available on Amazon and Smashwords. Remember, it says inappropriate humor. That's what it's about. Anyway, I'm the guy at Rising Tide Publications. We publish books and comic books. We have a page on Facebook as well as risingtide.pub. And every morning on my Facebook page, I do a show called Nevermind the Furthermore. You get points if you know where that's from. Every morning at 10 a.m., 9 a.m. Eastern, where you could be the guests on my show and promote what you do. Then on Tuesday nights at 8 p.m., Clever Title Pending. I know this is not a plea for a good title. This is the title. Sorry. Anyway, at 8 p.m. Every Tuesday night Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Central, we talk about creativity and the business behind it. So please tune in. And we're starting to do live interviews now every other week or so. So check in with us. And also you get a chance to promote your cleverness on this show too. So I look forward to seeing you. Take care, everyone.
All right, I'm G.W. Pomichter. I am the author of the Lucky March Mystery Series, as well as Yesterday's Tomorrow. And I am the host, director, and producer of the Hanging With web show, an interview talk show series based on YouTube, also found on Facebook, featuring artists, authors, filmmakers, musicians, comic book creators, you name it, creative minds of all kinds. We love to feature creative arts and entertainment professionals right here on the Hanging With web show. So you can find us on YouTube at HWWS Web TV, on Facebook at Hanging With Web Show, on Twitter at Hanging With Show, on Instagram at Hanging With Web Show, and probably a few other places I don't know. But you can just go over to hwwswebtv.com and you'll find all of those links that I just laid out, which makes me feel kind of pointless. So let's move on to the next one.
Brian K. Morris, live interviews? Call me. Anyways, I'm Chuck Pino. I am the writer and creator of such books as Belial and Welcome to the Void. I'm also a freelance editor, and I love to review your independent comics. So you can find my reviews at Chuck's Raw Reviews on YouTube. You can find me on Twitter at Chucky Pin. You can find me on Facebook, Chuck Pineau, and of course you can always find me here on cons and Indie Advocates.
I'd like to thank everyone for being here. I am, of course, the underground indie advocating devil, and I create books about fetish monsters and more. And I am excited to be advocating for everyone through indieadvocates.com, including Brian K. Morris, Chuck, hanging with the web show, and everything Garrett does. Thank you for being part of an OnCon network panel. We're going to be here all week at 4 p.m. just to entertain you guys and educate you. So if you don't come out on the other side of this and learning something new, what was this all point? So spend your time wisely, learn something. So when you get past this great pause, you're an educated person. We'll see you tomorrow on another great panel. Thank you, panelists. You did great.
Thank you.